What is going on, everybody? I hope everyone is enjoying the material I'm producing. This is volume 9, the Schmidt Variation. Starts off e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, e takes d4, knight takes d4, and it's a unique move we haven't talked about yet. The knight jumps to f6 on move 4. And from here, white only has two main responses. The main line happens about 6 times more often than the minor line. 6,900 games total between the two. Knight take knight on c6 is the main line. And, as we said, about 17% of the time, the minority line will happen, and that is knight jumps to c3. And I think this is very special. Out of 6,900 games, only one played a very rare line called the Alekhine Gambit, which almost no one knows about. And that is pushing the pawn to e5. Alekhine Gambit. We're going to dedicate a whole volume just to that move alone. It's probably going to be a relatively short video, but it does deserve its own screen time. We're going to be taking a look at the minority line first, which is knight to c3. Approximately 1,100 games has reached this position with titled players playing with the move knight to c3. But I will mention that 5,000 games overall has reached this position. And that is because it can be reached through the 4 knights Scotch Variation accepted line. And about 3,500 have reached the position through that line. So it's not too rare, but getting here through the Scotch game is definitely rare. That being said, there is one move I want to talk about that out of 5,000 games has only happened 57 times. And that is a knight capture e4, and this is called the Schmid Gambit. We're in the Schmidt Variation, SCHMIDT, but the Schmid Gambit is just SCHMID, no T. The Schmid Gambit will get its own volume as well, and we're going to back up and continue down the minority line. The bishop will then come to b4, pinning the knight on c3, and from here, white will capture the knight on c6. And I think it's funny, out of 4,500 games of masters and grandmasters alike, that's 9,000 professionals, right? There's only 6 instances, 6, where that knight was not captured this turn. Like, I wonder what those people were thinking. That's a lot of people. And it's undisputed. The B pawn will capture the knight, because if the D pawn did, obviously queen exchange and black would lose castling rights. So the B pawn will capture the knight back. And that's when white will bring their bishop to d3. And there's 2 ways to achieve the same thing. And that goes black can castle, white can castle, black can push d5, white can exchange e takes d, c takes d, bishop to g5, pinning the knight to the queen, and then c6. Or we can go ahead and back the board up, and we can go d5, e captures d, c captures d, castle, castle, bishop to g5, and then c6. It's all the same stuff. There's literally only one direction to go down this line. It's pretty crazy. No deviations. So regardless of which path you take to get to this position, the last move in the line we're going to cover is bringing your queen out to f3. So this position right here is the end of the line, and we're going to go back to the beginning of the main line now. Instead of the knight coming out to c3, the knight on d4 is going to capture the knight on c6. Black is not going to capture with the d-pawn because the whole queen take queen and then king take queen, losing the ability to castle. So naturally they're going to capture the knight with the b-pawn. Once the b-pawn is captured, you can go ahead and push your pawn up to e5, and that's where the one variation that we covered transforms into the Mises variation. It's the Schmidt variation here and the Mises variation here. And that's where we're going to stop because that deserves its own volume. Really quick, we're going to cover one more line. Pushing e5 is not the only move. You can stay in the Schmidt variation by pushing bishop to d3. Same thing, there's no variation, it's just a straight line. Black pushes d5, e captures d, c captures d, white castles, black plays bishop e7, white pushes c4, and then black castles. Continuing on, c pawn captures d, and the bishop will fianchetto on b7. Knight will come out to c3, knight will capture d5, and then bishop comes to d2. And that's that. It's a short little 7-minute video, but I appreciate you, and I will see you on the next. Thanks.